What's the most money I've ever lost?
Time almost gave up.
Great. So what's your name and what do you do?
So I'm Abi Mohammed and I'm the co-founder of CGV, and CGV invests in underrepresented founders in London. So we're an angel firm.
So what was the first time you ever tried to start a business?
3 years ago, me and my friend wanted to become like IT consultancies because I have a background in the software engineering. So the idea was to help entrepreneurs build like their actual tech product. And yeah, that completely failed. So yeah.
How come?
It's just like we didn't work well together. So like he was a really close friend of mine, and it felt like I would be building, I'll be doing this, and I'll be doing that. So we didn't really split the actual responsibilities equally, and I felt like it was not going anywhere. It was not giving me value. It was not giving me a purpose, and yeah.
So what did you want to be when you were like a kid?
As a kid, I wanted to be a actress, but then that really didn't work out. Then I wanted to be an astronaut. Didn't really work out.
What would your younger self say to you if they saw you now?
I don't know. She'd be like, "You're amazing. Go at it." Like, what else? Like, she'd be like, "Oh, is that how I'm gonna look like?"
Tell us about your proudest moment to date as an entrepreneur.
Me and my co-founders actually physically sitting down and investing in a company that validated our actual business plan, our purpose, what we want to be in the community. So I think that still for me is the proudest like achievement, physically investing in a company and then getting that closed off last year.
What would you say is your single strongest character trait?
I think my gob. I have a big gob, like I can talk myself into anything. So it's weird. So anything that I want, I generally get. I know it sounds so bad when I say that, but it's like if I need to be somewhere and I feel like I'm always able to like argue my case, I'm able to like always put myself forward, and yeah.
If you were given £1 million tax-free,
Yeah.
what do you think you would do?
Oh, easy. So I have a range of deal flow already, a couple of entrepreneurs that I want to back. I will cut them up into like ticket sizes, and then also keep some of the money for lawyer fees, a couple other things to make sure like my business is running perfectly, and then also probably help my mom pay off her debt.
Is capitalism evil or is it good?
It depends on who you are. I think it's either or. You need it, otherwise there's no other better ideology out there that makes sense for this climate and this Western world.
Have you ever been tricked by anyone in business?
I've been tricked in a good way into becoming a scout. So I'm a venture scout for Back VC. So they are a 50 mil fund that invests across Europe. And the idea is to help them with deal flow. And I remember the person who introduced me to the role tricked me into dinner. So I didn't know that I was signing up to it. And then when I got there, I was like, "Oh, the food, drinks, this is lovely." And they're like, "Oh, you're a scout." And I'm like, "Am I? I don't know." So yeah, so I got tricked into something.
Tell us about your most difficult time as an entrepreneur and what you learned from that experience.
I was working as a software engineer for the government, and having that comfortability of like leaving that role to just not knowing what you're gonna do next was so uncomfortable. So having 6 months of like doing freelancing and figuring out like where the next paycheck was gonna come was really uncomfortable and very difficult. I had times where I was thinking to myself like I should give up and just like have a normal job where I know every month I will get money. So the most time like I had to prove myself who I was. So it was a time where I was not sure what's gonna happen next, but at the same time it was a time where everything was working out. So I was invited down to 10 Downing Street to talk about like the next year of climate of entrepreneur and how that's gonna look like in the next 5 years. I was invited to like different stages to talk about different perspective from like a woman in tech, and especially being a Black woman in tech. So I was doing all these little things, but it was still not making sense. So I was like going home confused about who I was. But then I kept saying to myself, like, if I write down what values I like, and anything that I do, I kept putting the values back in and meeting those kind of like KPIs, that it would make sense in the next 5 years.
So as a black woman in tech, what would you say is the hardest thing you have to sort of deal with?
I couldn't fully be myself half the time, so I had to dress a certain way, have my hair a certain way, and people still didn't get that. And it's different where you live. So I worked in Cambridge. Cambridge is very different from London. The landscape, even like to what people do in the afternoon. Everyone's generally married, have like some like, you know, family kind of ties and stuff like that. So for me, being in that environment and trying to be my fullest was very difficult because people would look at me like I'm crazy. It was also to do with my age. I look very, very young. So a lot of people felt like I was very inexperienced, even though I coded since I was like 14. And it's like I've proven myself again and again and again. And they're like, no, don't worry, like, don't run, you can walk.
What would you say is your biggest insecurity?
Body issues, like, so I'm not really comfortable with myself yet. But I think it's something that I've always had since I was young, and I'm still working on it. So yeah.
Do you think that impacts you in terms of your career choices?
Not really. That's something different.
What do you think is the hardest thing about
Being by yourself is weird. So even if you have like friends and like that are entrepreneurs, you all doing different journeys. So you're still alone. Even like if you have co-founders, it's weird. It's like you don't want to give that burden to them, so you just keep that yourself.
How much money does your business make a year?
So currently we don't make money like that. It's a bit confusing. So we are a angel firm, and what that means is we physically use our own capital, the money that we made. Like, so I used to be a software engineer, so I used to make a lot of money. Other co-founders put our own money and invest in the companies. So we won't see a return until 5 to 7 years, if there's a return. So it depends on the startup itself, if it gets acquired or it goes to different rounds, if it gets sold. It's a long game, but it's gonna be worth it, because I know for a fact the people that we are gonna back are wonderful, and they're doing crazy stuff.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make, and what advice would you give them?
Anytime you're trying to create a solution, before you solutionize, think about who the end user is and then get them on board. So go away, talk to them, get a survey, let them map out what the solution should be like before creating it. So my advice as well is remember that you're not your customer. The customer's out there and you need to talk to them every single day to make sure this is perfect. And also release as quick as possible. So don't build something amazing, just build something that is kind of working and does it what it needs to do at the start, and then test it out and then bring it back in.
What inspires you on a day-to-day basis?
I watch a lot of like sci-fi movies, so that inspires me, like thinking about different alternatives of worlds and thinking about different like future representations and stuff. Like my community inspires me as well, because I could see different people doing different things, which makes me think about how do you connect the dots. And then also I think my parents inspire me. My mom's really a go-getter, so she never quits. So I think that's where I get my spark from.
Do you think poverty is a choice?
It depends on how you define poverty though. Someone's poverty might be someone's riches, do you get what I mean? So it depends on what climate.
If you became the leader of the world, what do you think your first action would be?
The first action would be making everyone's pay grade transparent. I think transparency is key. Also, I would make like tampons and all feminine like products free, and also like painkillers for periods for free.
What would you say is the most shameful thing you've ever done for money?
I've never been ashamed of anything that I do.
Would you be able to just tell anyone who's watching like some encouraging word or some encouraging saying that kind of helps you?
Don't think about like the end goal. Think about like the small impact that you can make, And then that will turn into a milestone. The milestone will turn into an epic, and then eventually you will get there. But then if you don't do the small steps at the beginning, you will never get there. So don't think about like just like jumping the whole staircase, but just taking that one step by the time. Yeah.